So both things are caused by the same thing. The bottom of the arc is behind the ball. So you either hit the ground or you hit it on the upswing and hit it thin. So the first thing you got to do is learn how to make the club hit the ground in the correct spot. So some things that would make you hit behind the ball or have the bottom of the swing be too early. What was your comment? Yeah. So the club releases too early. You're going to hit too far behind the ball. What other things would cause you to hit behind it? Yeah. Weight back here or body tilting backwards. Upper body too far back. Club hitting back here. What else? Ball position that would be more being back this way. Yeah, it could be steep. Too much from the inside, swinging in to out would do it. So the main thing you got to get your students to understand is, the left shoulder dictates where the club hits the ground. So the more forward it gets, the steeper it's going to be. The more back it gets, the more shallow. So you want to get it set in the right position. Then you want to learn how to rotate and learn how to make the club hit the ground on the front side of the ball. That's hard for them to do. I mean, it's hard for them to realize that how much they have to move the hands and the club forward to hit the ground in front of the ball. Now, one thing that you can tell all your students, if they're having a hard time hitting the ground in the proper spot, most of them are trying to hit the ball, right? So what hits the ball? You're done. You already showed off. Thanks. You did a good job.
Yeah, thanks. That's cool.
So if they understand that if their hands move forward,
Probably not good place.
the club has to come forward. Everybody with me on that? So there's no way to move your hands forward and not bring the club forward, because you're holding on to it. But you can move the club forward without moving your hands forward. So if their mind goes to hitting the ball, what hits the ball? Club head. Well, they'll throw the club head in. So what you got to get them to understand is that they need to continue to move their hands and the club in the same direction. And if they do that, the club will always hit the ground on the front side of the ball. They won't hit behind it. The only way they're going to hit behind it is if they change their position to the ball. Okay? So if they can understand where the ball goes in their stance and where their balance is, and they can get a pretty on-plane motion back and through, and they understand that their hands and club need to move in the same direction, they should be able to hit the ground in the right spot every time. Does that make sense? So what people get out of position, a lot of people I think get a lot of tilting in their body. A lot of people get, they change their height to the ball. You got to get them to stay the same height. You got to get their arms and the club to be the proper length, and then you got to feel like the arms, the body, and the club are always moving in the same direction. You don't want the body going back and the club going forward. You don't want the hands going back and the club going forward. You want everything moving through together. So I think for most people, to get them to understand that if they can brush the grass on the front side of the ball, they're not gonna have trouble with their short shots. It's when they start bottoming out early, they hit it fat, or they catch it on the upswing and hit it thin. Does that make sense? So, as far as playing things like that, I mean, I don't like to have a lot of arc in the club. I like to see the club arc slightly, but a little bit more back and through on the line as opposed to having too much around. I think is better in your short shots. I think high to low, when you go real low going back and high going through is not good. I'd rather have the club swing a little more up and down, more high to low finish. I think is better. I think feeling like you have more of a level rotation instead of having a lot of tilting in the shoulders is better. I know Stan Utley works a lot on trying to really get your shoulders level. I like to have a little upward movement, but I don't want to see there's a lot of tilting where you start changing your elevation. What other things you want to talk about in the short game?
What do you think about like a 60 degree has less bounce and they tend to get under the ball a little easier, especially on a collar? A lot of tour players. What kind of bounce do you like on the 56 degree regular side?
I like bounce. I like somewhere around 8 or 9 degrees of bounce. I'm not a big 4 degree. For me personally, I like a narrow sole and I like some bounce on it so I can get it under the ball. I don't like the fatter bottom though. I think most amateurs, bounce is kind of their friend. It helps them more than it hurts them because most of them bottom out early, so if it doesn't dig, you can do better with it. But I think bounce has a lot to do with your angle into the ball. I mean, if you're shallow, without a lot of lean in the shaft, you can use a little less bounce. But if you're steep and you have a lot of lean, you need some bounce to hold it. So I'm big on trying to feel more shallow into the ball, and I don't like a lot of angle. Especially for good players.
So, what do you do when they start shanking it? What is your? Is it more quick? Let's fix it right now, or is it let's talk about it?
I would say if they start shanking it, well, first of all, you got to determine why they're shanking it. Okay. So what would you say would be the most common reason people would shank the ball?
Too strong right-handed.
Too close to the ball.
I mean, some they're hitting it in the neck of the club. We would all agree with that, right? And there's different reasons they would hit it in the net. But I think most people shank it because they throw the right hand that way and it throws the hosel out, or they roll the hands out too much at the start and bring it in that way. Now there's various reasons, sometimes too much upper body, whatever, but we all know that they're hitting it too much in the neck of the club. So you got to get them to understand where they need to hit the ball. I mean, I think the simplest way is just put a ball out here like this and just get them to understand they got to stay inside of that and try to hit it more from the center of the face to the toe. Because most of them are rolling their hands out like this, and then when they come down, they're way out here and catch it into the neck, or they're rolling it inside and trying to shut it down and shut the face that way. So I think anything you can do to get them to understand, they have to understand where they're hitting the ball in relation to the face. Now, is it setup related? Is it body movement related? Whatever it is, but I think the bottom line is you got to figure out how to get them to hit it more here, more than the heel. I mean, I've had people just try to hit it in the toe before, just to get them to not hit it in the heel. My buddy has the best line about shanks I've ever heard. He said, shanks are like cigarettes. They come in a pack. Once you hit one, you tend to hit a bunch of them. So, my explanation is, some people say open face shanks, closed face shanks. But after they shank a few, what's the shot they hit when they don't shank them? Pull. So it's some sort of a shut face motion that makes you shank it. And I've seen them on video. I mean, basically what happens is the hands get out, the club, wraps around this way, and you catch it right there. But there are high handle shanks you could hit. There's all different versions, but none of them are good. None of them work.
Most of the people that I met just mentioned that the right hand gets that way, they set up to it with their left shoulder high and they can take it inside.
And the strong grip.
Yeah.
That way. Yeah. I mean, I don't even like thinking about it. Scary deals. But I think there's a lot of different reasons for it, but I think the bottom line is.
Did you think it interesting when Hunter Mahan won the World Series and he shanked it on the round of the semifinals? And nobody said anything to him, like, Hunter, give us a little insight for home, back at home. What did you do to make this meet? Because I'm sure you get that theme on every swing.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon I don't like to talk about.
Where do you take the technique that you've been using here and plus the issue of bounce and relate it to bunker play?
Very similar. I think in the bunker, basically what you try to do in the bunker is you move the ball forward in your stance, towards forward of your left heel. The bottom of the swing, like I said, is under the left shoulder. And for most people, they position their ball and their iron somewhere, 1 to 2 inches inside their left heel, and they catch the ball and then the divot. So out of the bunker, you basically you move the ball forward to that. So you're still going to hit the ground in the same spot you would on a full shot off of grass, but the balls are going to be forward to that. So you automatically are going to hit behind the ball. The reason I like the ball forward is that encourages you to rotate through and not fall back. But since the ball's so far forward, the club moves in a circle and moves on an arc. So when it gets that far forward, it's going to be swinging left. So you got to open the face to counter that. So you open the face, play it forward. Since you're hitting the sand and not the ball, it's somewhere between a 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 ratio, depending on the type of sand you're in. So if you can get people to move the ball forward, open the face, and make a 2-to-1 swing, and the thing I always look at is where the divot starts. In the sand, it's easy because anybody who struggles in the bunker, I guarantee you that their divot mark is going to start somewhere between the middle of their foot and back towards their right toe. It's going to be back here. So they're moving this way to hit it. So if you can draw a line in the sand and get them to work on trying to hit in front of the line, so the line's more up by their left toe, and get them moving into it that way, with the ball forward, they're automatically going to get the ball out. So those are the adjustments I make. With good players, obviously there's a little bit different releases, but what I tell the average player is the best bunker players in the world average 67% out of the bunker sand saves, right? So if they're in 3 bunkers, 2 times they're going to get it up and down. So 2 times they're going to have 4 strokes. The next time they're going to have 3. So 3 times in the bunker, 7 shots. So what does that average? How many strokes? 7 divided by 3. 2.3, right? So the best in the world when they're in the bunker average 2.3. So if I tell them if they can get it out of the bunker on the green and 2-putt every time, what would they average?
3.
On and 1 and 2 putts. 3. They're within 7/10 of a stroke of the best in the world. And they're not going to do anything. So that's the first thing I try to do is get them to understand. All right, this is what you got to do to hit the shot correctly. And then once they can do that, then teach them how to open the face more to make it go shorter. Try to make more speed, bigger swings to make it go longer. I had these 3 ladies down the last couple of days. They're all good players. One's a 6, one's a 9, and one's a 12. And I was amazed that from off the tee they were all great. All hit it down the middle, over 200 yards. Second shots all up around the green, pretty consistently. Around the green, atrocious. I mean, they didn't know how to hit it low. They didn't know how to hit it high. They could hit bunker shots that would go from here to maybe to that first flag, but when it was in the back, they didn't know what to do. How do I make it go farther out of the bunker? They had no clue. So I said, all right, to the back pin, I want you to take your 52 degree. So they go, we can use these out of the bunker? They're all trying to hit 60-degree wedges, and they can only hit them this far. So I gave them a 52, and they're all of a sudden they're making the same swing. The ball's going to the back of the green. So with them, I changed the club a little bit because they didn't have enough speed to make it go that far. So if it's a 2-to-1 ratio, and you can hit your 60 degree, say 70 yards, your maximum blast would be what? 35. So they need to understand how far they can blast each club. But for most people out of the bunker, same as in the short game, I think they get in trouble when they're trying to do something to help the ball in the air. And when they understand you have to move to your front side and make the divot more forward, and they understand that if you keep the face open and the club doesn't dig, it slides through and comes out. When most people get in trouble, they're falling back and they're shutting the face down and chopping at it, making these deep divots. All right, any other questions on short game? Then we'll do just a little putting.
You like more balance on the sand?
I'm a big bounce fan. I would say, depends on the kind of bunkers. Your real firm bunkers, you could go a little less, but I don't think you should be playing with less than 8 or 9 degrees of bounce, personally. Unless you're really shallow. I just think it's good. Now, when you open the face, you add more bounce too. So if you have 8 or 9, you open it up, you're increasing the bounce a little bit. So I'm a mid bounce guy. 8, 9, 10, right in there for all my wedges. I don't like much more than that.
You like the Vokey wedges?
I think they're the best wedges. I think they give you the most option. There are other wedges that are good. I mean, they're not the only good ones out there. But the thing I like about Vokey is that I think he designs wedges based on your angle of attack, and he has different lofts within there, so he has pretty good.
What do you think, Todd, about the back of the bounce where it's a sharp edge or a rounded edge? What do you think of that? Nicholas said he never played with a rounded edge.
I like a little roundness, to be honest with you. I don't like it too sharp back there.
Because it keeps digging.
I like it. I like it. I like to be able to do that. I'm not sorry about that. Just where it won't dig. But out here, this ground's pretty firm out here where y'all are. Where I am, it's a little softer. So you may have to play a little less bounce out here than we do where I'm from. It all depends on the turf and how your angle is in the ball. I think you have to fiddle around with different ones to get the right combination. I think more important, the bounce is really important, but I think getting the proper lofts. I see a lot of people that they just don't have the right loft combinations to hit the ball the proper distance. Where you score is, from 120 and in. And they have, I have good players that, hit their 52, 120 yards, and then they have a 60. If they maybe hit 90 yards, so they have 30-yard gaps in there. And so, I like to have 15-yard, maybe 20-yard gaps max in your wedges. And in your set configuration, you're going to have 20-yard gaps at the top or at the bottom. It's your choice. Either up at the top, you're going to have 20 yards, maybe between your hybrid and your free wood, and your hybrid and your 4-iron, or you're going to have in your wedges. And to me, I think you're better off having your gaps at the top than in the bottom.